On this day in history, October 14th, Robert the Bruce of Scotland defeats King Edward II of England at the Battle of Old Byland on October 14, 1322. This decisive Scottish victory forced Edward's retreat and compelled England to accept Scottish independence, solidifying Bruce's rule over Scotland. The battle was a culmination of years of conflict following the Wars of Scottish Independence, and it firmly established Robert the Bruce as Scotland's legitimate king. Frederick the Great of Prussia suffers a rare defeat at the Battle of Hochkirch on October 14, 1758. During the 7 Years' War, Austrian forces launched a surprise attack under Marshal Leopold von Daun, defeating Frederick's Prussian army in Saxony. Despite the loss, Frederick's rapid reorganization prevented the Austrians from capitalizing on their victory, preserving Prussia's strength in the larger war. The Commission of National Education, the first recorded Ministry of Education, is formed in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth on October 14, 1773. This groundbreaking institution, created after the dissolution of the Jesuit order, sought to reform the education system, making it more secular and modern. It is widely regarded as the world's first Ministry of Education, laying the foundation for public education reforms in Europe. George Eastman receives a U.S. government patent for his invention of paper strip photographic film on October 14, 1884. This invention paved the way for modern photography by replacing cumbersome glass plates with flexible paper film. Eastman's work led to the development of the Kodak camera, which popularized photography by making it accessible to the general public. Louis Le Prince films the first known motion picture, Roundhay Garden Scene, on October 14, 1888. This short, silent film, recorded in the garden of Joseph Whitley's estate in Leeds, England, is the earliest surviving motion picture. The scene lasts just over 2 seconds and is a key moment in the development of cinema. Former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt is shot and mildly wounded by John Flaming Schrank on October 14, 1912, while campaigning in Milwaukee. Schrank, a mentally unstable man who believed Roosevelt was a threat to American democracy, shot him in the chest. Despite having a bullet lodged in his body, Roosevelt continued with his scheduled speech, famously stating, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose," referring to his Progressive Party nickname. The Senginid Colliery disaster occurs on October 14, 1913, claiming the lives of 439 miners in Wales. An explosion and subsequent fire at the Universal Colliery in Senginid made this the worst mining accident in British history. The disaster highlighted the poor safety standards in coal mines at the time, leading to reforms in mining regulations. Germany withdraws from the League of Nations and the World Disarmament Conference on October 14, 1933. Adolf Hitler's decision to pull Germany out of these international organizations was a clear signal of his intention to rearm the country in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. This act of defiance marked a significant step towards Germany's aggressive militarization in the lead-up to World War II. German submarine U-47 sinks the British battleship HMS Royal Oak in Scapa Flow, Scotland, on October 14, 1939. The attack occurred in one of Britain's most secure naval bases, dealing a devastating blow to British naval power early in World War II. Over 800 sailors were killed, and the event demonstrated the vulnerability of even heavily defended positions to submarine warfare. The United States 8th Air Force loses 60 of its 291 B-17 flying fortresses during the second raid on Schweinfurt on October 14, 1943. This raid aimed to cripple Nazi Germany's ball-bearing production, essential for the war effort. However, the mission became one of the costliest for the U.S. Air Force, with high losses of aircraft and crew, prompting a re-evaluation of daylight bombing strategies. Chuck Yeager becomes the first person to break the sound barrier on October 14, 1947. Flying the Bell X-1 rocket plane, Yeager reached Mach 1.07 at an altitude of 45,000 feet over the Mojave Desert. This achievement shattered a long-standing aviation barrier and paved the way for supersonic flight, influencing both military and civilian aviation technologies. The Smith Act trials of Communist Party leaders conclude on October 14, 1949, with the conviction of 11 defendants. These leaders were found guilty of advocating the violent overthrow of the U.S. government under the 1940 Smith Act. The trials, held during the height of the Red Scare, were a reflection of Cold War-era fears about communism in America. The Battle of Triangle Hill, the bloodiest battle of 1952 during the Korean War, begins on October 14, 1952. This fierce engagement between United Nations forces, led by the U.S., and Chinese troops, aimed to secure key high ground in North Korea. The battle resulted in heavy casualties on both sides and demonstrated the intense fighting that characterized the Korean War's later stages. The 23rd Canadian Parliament is opened on October 14, 1957, becoming the only one to be personally inaugurated by Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen's presence in Ottawa for the ceremonial opening was a unique event in Canadian history, emphasizing the country's constitutional ties to the British monarchy. The Cuban Missile Crisis begins on October 14, 1962, when U.S. reconnaissance aircraft photographed Soviet ballistic missile installations in Cuba. This discovery marked the beginning of a tense 13-day confrontation between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear war. The crisis ended when both sides reached a diplomatic agreement to remove missiles from Cuba and Turkey. Martin Luther King Jr. is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize on October 14, 1964, for his nonviolent leadership in the American civil rights movement. At age 35, he became the youngest Nobel laureate at the time, recognized for his efforts to end racial segregation and promote equality through peaceful protests and civil disobedience. The Montreal Metro Rapid Transit System begins operation on October 14, 1966. The underground system, inspired by the Paris Metro, became a critical part of Montreal's public transportation network and a symbol of the city's modernization during the 1960s. The Dutch government led by Prime Minister Joe Calois collapses on October 14, 1966, after party leader Norbert Schmelzer files a successful motion against the budget. Known as the Night of Schmelzer, this political crisis marked a significant moment in Dutch politics, as Schmelzer's actions led to the fall of his own coalition government. NASA's Apollo 7 crew performs the first live television broadcast from space on October 14, 1968. The broadcast, which showed the astronauts in orbit, was a pioneering moment in space exploration, bringing the space experience directly into the homes of viewers on Earth for the first time. Jim Hines becomes the first man to break the 10-second barrier in the 100-meter sprint on October 14, 1968, during the Mexico City Olympics. Hines clocked a time of 9.95 seconds, setting a world record that stood for 15 years and marking a historic achievement in athletics. The 6th Congress of the Workers' Party of Korea concludes on October 14, 1980, with the designation of Kim Jong-il as the successor to his father, Kim Il-sung. This marked the formal establishment of the Kim dynasty's hereditary leadership in North Korea, with Kim Jong-il assuming key positions of power in the regime. U.S. President Ronald Reagan declares a war on drugs on October 14, 1982, with the aim of combating drug abuse and trafficking. The policy led to an increase in federal funding for law enforcement and strict drug-related laws, though it also contributed to mass incarceration and had long-lasting social consequences. Yasser Arafat, Yitzhak Rabin, and Shimon Peres received the Nobel Peace Prize on October 14, 1994, for their roles in the Oslo Accords. These agreements between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization aim to establish a framework for peace in the Middle East and grant limited self-government to the Palestinian people. Austrian skydiver Felix Baumgartner successfully jumps to Earth from the stratosphere on October 14, 2012, setting a world record for the highest jump. He leapt from a height of 39 kilometers, 24 miles, breaking the sound barrier during his free fall, and landing safely in the New Mexico desert. This feat pushed the limits of human endurance and technology. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed it, like, share, and hit that subscribe button to keep up with our future content. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Can't wait to see you next time for even more great content.